Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central. Live, it's the In Wheel Time car talk show. Coming up, Shawn Jones, Corvette Invasion Wrangler. Conrad will have the In Wheel Time car clinic, and I'll bring you this week's auto news. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars. King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Thank you so much for joining us on this live edition. We're live every Saturday from 8 to 11 a.m., and we hope that you'll join us every Saturday, 8 to 11 a.m. Mm-hmm. I have an apology to make right out of the box on this because Shawn texted me yesterday in the middle of the heat while I was flying, and I said I'd call him back afterwards, and guess what? I got out of the helicopter too late and then had other things going on. And Shawn, my apologies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what? It just happens sometimes, you know?
Hey, I'll forgive you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
There's no air conditioning in his helicopter.
No, there's nothing in, no.
Poor
No
Don. I know taking a helicopter with no AC. Gosh, I don't know how you live at night. I mean, sleep at night, I mean, God.
Shawn, don't feel too bad. He forgot why he was going in the other room this morning.
That's exactly, yeah. Well, that happens quite a bit. Shawn Jones is the creator of a thing called the Corvette Invasion, and it happens, and it has been happening. This, I guess, would be the 10th one.
Yes, sir.
And it happens up at the city of Bastrop. Mm-hmm. Now, for those of us that know about kind of a little bit about Central Texas, Bastrop is the place that you go if you're going to go 71 up to Austin.
It's a suburb.
It's a suburb of Austin.
Suburb of Austin.
Yeah, exactly. And they also have a good Buc-ee's there. And it's a great place to hold a car show, and especially about Corvettes.
And it's also very close to Circuit of the Americas.
There you go. Well, I will tell you that last year, Leslie and I had a great time and a great bed and breakfast up there. It was a wonderful event. I truly mean that. And lots of Corvettes showed up, and I assume that it's going to be the same version 10 years later. Correct, Shawn?
Well, things are actually going to change. And I want to kind of, if I could, just kind of start with the history of the Corvette Invasion, how it got started. So in 2013, my buddy Steve Pond with the Houston Corvette Group reached out to me. I was the activities director for the local Corvette club here in Austin. And he reached out to me and said, hey, we're going to be coming up up to Austin, and let's get together and just have some, have dinner, have a good time. And so I made a call over to my buddy Jody, who was running the Oasis restaurant here in Austin at the overlooking Lake Travis. And we met up for dinner, and that little dinner party among two Corvette clubs through social media, of course, grew into about 300 Corvettes.
Nice.
So,
and all 300 show up at the Oasis?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
pretty
God.
much. Yeah, that's what everybody says. Like, oh, gosh. And, the people that were out there just trying to enjoy a regular, evening dinner, enjoying the sunset, and all of a sudden they see all these Corvettes coming out and like, what's happening here? What's happening here?
Right.
But, that was really just two Corvette clubs thought we'd get together for dinner and then throw it out on social media. And, hey,
So you had a rod run out there to the Oasis.
We did.
Now, was this before or after the fire out there?
I was way after, yeah.
Way after
2013.
Remember what year the fire was, but it's been, oh gosh, they've renovated that and they've really made it look, top notch out there. Yep. It's really a nice venue. If you ever get a chance to get back to the Austin area, I'd recommend it. It's a nice place.
Absolutely.
And downtown Bastrop's kind of a destination place to go visit as well.
Sure. Yes, it is. Definitely. Bastrop's, well, like anywhere in Central Texas and probably all of Texas, it's just growing so fast. But kind of going to go back to the history of it. 2013, we had this little dinner party. And then 2014, and I told you we had about 300 Corvettes show up that first year. If you can kind of think about this, we almost doubled that the second year. So the word got out the first year that we had all these Corvettes, and the second year it almost doubled. When it did that, it was frightening. It was like
out of control.
out of control, no parking. No, it was pretty insane. The Circuit of Americas got a whiff of this, and they had just opened up their racetrack, and they asked us to come out year 3, and we did. We spent a few years out there. It was great. We loved going out there and enjoying the track. But in 2019, the city of Bastrop said, we would love to be your host city. And we host hotel, and we have a convention center, and in Texas, July, it is hot. So we heard convention center. I said, does it have good AC? And they said, yes, the best. And I said, we want to be there.
Yeah.
So we moved it to Bastrop, Texas, and they've been so welcoming, so great to work with. Have a great convention center. And so our car show is there at the convention center parking lot. But all of our vendors, the food, refreshments, the awards ceremony is inside now, which just makes it great.
Good planning. Good planning.
Yep.
Yeah. The people that have known the history of this, even some of the people that have said, look, it's just too hot for me to come out. I said, look, come to Bastrop, though. We've made a lot of changes. And I think, Don, you were there last year. And I apologize to you. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off last year. I didn't really get a chance to chat with you, but I did see you out there.
I know, and I will tell you that I knew that. And listen, I've been to enough car shows to know that the organizer of the car shows got his hands full.
Yep.
And I ran into you that morning that we did the Circuit of the Americas, and man, it was crazy, and lots of Corvettes out there, and you had a wonderful time running the Circuit of the Americas. And I know we need to keep it below 45 miles an hour. Okay,
well,
fine.
We this year, now I will say this year we're not going to be going back to the track, and I know that's a disappointment for some, but we have decided to focus more on what's happening in Bastrop, so we won't be going back to the track. Now, I will tell people that are bummed about that. If they want to come back in November, I am partnering up with SVRA, Sports Car Vintage Racing Association.
Yep.
And I'm partnering up with those fine folks, and we're going to be hosting a big Corvette corral that weekend, along with the vintage racing, and then we'll do parade laps that weekend for their event.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, for a Circuit of the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for the Corvette Invasion this year, we basically our schedule is Friday night. We're going to have our meet and greet, and we're very excited about that because we have Ben Keaton that's going to join us this year. And as y'all know, he just
won 24 Hours Le Mans.
Yes. So we're very excited to have him as our guest speaker Friday night, and we'll have some good food and drinks, and then we'll have live music by the Clutch Kings. So that'll be happening Friday night. And then on Saturday, we'll have our big Corvette car show. We're expecting somewhere around, probably around 200, 250 Corvettes. When we moved it to the Bastrop, we did take a hit on the number of Corvettes we used to have. But now I think it's better because it's not, Don, you've seen it. Like when we were at the track last year, there was probably well over 400 Corvettes out there.
Yes, there were. Yeah. Easily.
Easily. And so by limiting the number of Corvettes that we have for our Corvette car show, I think makes it go smoother, and it entices people. They need to register early. They can't wait until the last minute, because last year it sold out. This year it may sell out again, we hope. But
makes it a lot more manageable, and there's been 2 or 3 events that have done that. Hot Rod Tour of Texas, they've got a limit. Lone Star Throwdown, they've got a limit. And there's another one out there that, it just, you got to be able to manage it, or else your people don't have a good experience.
Yeah, you lose control of it. Nobody wants to come back.
Right.
You're right.
So you're
Shawn,
making a good move there.
Well, I really got to thank you for arranging for the Wienermobile to be there.
I saw that.
Because we thoroughly enjoyed speaking to the representatives of Oscar Mayer and the Wienermobile gang that were there displaying the Wienermobile. That was a feature that I truly loved. And we got to see one of the things about having a car show with one make of car, a Corvette, and you can see all of the different interpretations of what that owner thinks their Corvette should look like.
Yep.
And let me tell you something. It's all across the board. Anything and everything you can imagine. You got the race group, you got the show group, and then you've got the group that has bought every trinket imaginable.
The guy who's got a credit card and a J.C. Whitney catalog.
That's right. Yeah. And Shawn knows exactly what I'm talking about, and they're all there. And it's fun to see that. And the other fun part about these shows like this is that people bring the lawn chairs, got their umbrella to stay out of the heat, and stay there and talk to your other Corvetters out there that we all have the same passion. And the one nice thing that Shawn does is the early models, the C1s, the C2s, and some of the C3s, they had their own little special place up there at the front of the convention center. So I thought it was very well handled and well done.
Well, thank you. And I I can't take all the credit, of course, because I have a lot of people that do help me.
Like Don Armstrong.
Yeah, right. Like Don Armstrong. No, I have one big, a few big shout outs I have to give to my buddy Glenn Judice. He's actually down by Beaumont. He comes up every year and helps me with this event. He does so much for us, and I have to give him just big shout out. He's like a brother to me. And then my business partner, Elaine Prout, she handles the registration and all those people that are coming in there getting the registration packet. She's got to deal with all the questions and things. My wife helps her on that too, but
and she also does breakfast as well. I'll tell you that.
Right. We have breakfast on Saturday morning. That's actually we have a caterer, Jean Lane. She does phenomenal. She'll have.
Well, last year everybody was pitching in, and I told one of the girls over there. I said, "Need some help? Come on back, help me." Sure, no problem. Yeah,
it's a great group of people, and like I said, I've got so many volunteers that help me make this successful. I don't want to start calling them all off because I'll forget somebody's name, but I'm just a great team. I'm very blessed.
Yeah, well, no doubt about it. And the other thing too, and Shawn helped me out because I had signed up to go with, I don't remember what hotel or motel it was, but he said, "No, I'm not going to let you stay there. That one's kind of creepy." He says, "Let me make a phone call." He makes a phone call and found a bed and breakfast that still had some vacancies left. And we stayed in this absolutely charming, old school bed and breakfast. And the lady had converted it into just that. And it was a wonderful experience, and she was a great person, and I want to thank you for turning us on to that.
Sure. I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the Pecan Inn. And
yes.
my buddy Dave Wiley, who's actually our MC for the event, he was staying there as well.
I'll be.
So
yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to meet with him because he's got a radio background as well. I figured you guys you'd have a lot to talk about.
Well, we would have, and I met up with him, but, by the time we got back to the hotel, I was toast. I was done. And I know you know that feeling, and especially with the heat and everything. And so we'd gone to dinner and we made a day of it. Got in on Friday and got all set up and drove around town, had some good dinner downtown on Friday night. And then I did not make your meet and greet on Friday night because I was pooped. But Saturday it was a great time and spent the day out there and had dinner down there on Saturday night. So it's a great, short, but sweet little event. And I know if anybody is a car person whatsoever, they would truly enjoy stopping by and seeing what the Corvette Invasion is all about.
Yes, we welcome everybody. And I get asked all the time, do I have to have a Corvette? Well, you have to have a Corvette to register. But it's free for the public. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. This is free to the public. They're going to have spectator parking at the PAC Center, which is just down the road, and we'll have some complimentary shuttles. So I invite everybody to come out of all ages, come out and see these beautiful cars. And hey, if you start getting a little too warm, go inside the convention center, enjoy our vendors. Like I said, we'll have food, beverage in there. We'll have some giveaways. It's going to be a fun time. I think everyone's going to enjoy it.
Great car show.
Yeah, it truly is. And I will say this about parking, that I noticed that right away, early on, that there were a lot of people snapping up those parking spots around the convention center out on the street.
Didn't have to walk
and I
very
know
far.
that the neighbors were out there going, "Ooh, honey, did you see that car parked out in front of the house today?" And those got snapped up pretty quick as well. So it's a nice, safe, good event. And wish I were going to be there. I'm going to be heading up to the UP of Michigan on that day, and I'll be thinking of you.
Well, I appreciate that, Don. And if you can't make this event, one of the things, if you don't mind me mentioning, I have several events throughout the year. This is all I focus on. So I do about 8 different shows a year. Corvette Invasion being the one that is probably our largest event, one that takes probably the most time to prepare for. But I have a monthly Pistons at the Park in Pflugerville, Texas. I have an annual Rockin' Rides in March. I'm actually helping with the big, nice display of cool cars for the upcoming Austin Auto Show later on this month. I'm going to be launching a Gears and Guitars, which is a music festival and a car show. And then I'm working with SVRA more, too. I've got the event in November at COTA. I'm actually traveling with them to St. Louis in September for a big birthday celebration for the Corvette. And then I traveled earlier this year to NOLA, New Orleans, and to Sebring, Florida, all doing Corvette corrals for SVRA. So there'll be a lot of things coming up that you can come out to one of those maybe.
Well, thank you.
I'd love to have the whole gang come out maybe next year, and you set up there at the inside the convention center, and maybe do your show live there.
There you go, Mars.
There you go.
Okay, so you can work on that. Well, I will tell you that. Ask you a question? Is there a clearinghouse website that I can find all of these events that you just mentioned?
Well, so I have a very popular Facebook group called Sweet Rides of Central Texas.
Okay.
And if you're a true car enthusiast, I recommend you to go on this page, or it's actually, we have a page and we have a group. Okay. So if you go on the page, you'll get notified of the events. If you get in the group, that's where you're going to get all the good stuff. Hey, where can I have my car seen about this or that, or what events are coming up? Every week I always ask, what are your, car related plans? Yeah, because I don't even know. So everyone in the group, they'll throw things out there, and it keeps the car community, informed of what's happening.
Well, fresh ideas too.
It's not just Sweet Rides; it's Sweet Rides of Central Texas.
Yeah,
full thing.
That is correct. Yep,
Okay.
Yep. So
Cool.
they can like it on Facebook, and they can also join the Facebook group. Any Corvette related event that I'm organizing, I'll put it on my CorvetteInvasion.com website as well.
Very nice. Shawn, it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Good luck to you, and we'll be in touch, and hopefully we'll see you before the end of the year.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Shawn Jones, Corvette Invasion, coming up the weekend of July 14th through the 16th at the Bastrop Convention and Exhibit Center.
Exhibit.
Mm-hmm. All right. Time now for Conrad's Car Clinic. Today we're talking about engine blocks. We've gone through pistons,
Piston rings,
connecting rods, crankshafts, now engine blocks.
Engine blocks.
So engine blocks, originally we'll talk about the Model T. They would pour those, and then they would have to sit out and basically cure for a couple of months before they would bore them out and do all of the stuff and put them in a car and send them on the way. They've come a long way, baby. So some of the early engine blocks, the crankshaft was in the bottom, and then you bolted jugs on top of it, which were the cylinders. And, that lasted for a long time, and that's still the case in a lot of aircraft engines. Is that
I was going to say, and air-cooled engines.
The cylinders are just bolted on top of the engine block. And then it kind of evolved, and then they went with an integrated block, and the integrated block with the crankshaft, camshafts, and the cylinders were all poured into one molding. Now, the way that they do this is it's layered together with sand castings. So there may be 5, 6, 7 sand castings that they put together and then stack on top of each other, then pour the molten metal on top of it, and then they have to wash the engine out from all the sand debris from the casting sand.
I did not know that.
Yep, that was the way it was done earlier. And then So then they had an integrated engine. This happens to be a flathead, and you can see the valves. Well, the valves were in the head, still in the block, not in the head. And then, now a much more integrated inline 6-cylinder that everything was together. And then you can kind of see casting lines in the block itself as it was sand casted together. And it's like the sand mold would go and they'd layer them together because very complicated internal shapes on these engines.
Like sand through an hourglass.
Right. And then they moved to what I call an integrated engine, which the cylinder head, well, this isn't it. This is a V6. Actually, it's a V6 with cylinder liners in it. And the cylinder liners, you could either do a wet liner or a dry liner, because the cylinder wall is the part of the engine block that probably gets the most wear, and they wanted to be able to replace the cylinder walls alone by themselves. A wet liner meaning that the cylinder goes in with the coolant on the outside of the cylinder liner. A dry liner is the cylinder is pressed into the cast iron of the engine. And the I always thought one of the most interesting engines out there was the Offenhauser engine of IndyCar fame.
Yep.
Back in the 50s and 60s. That Offenhauser, the cylinder head and engine block were integrated. The cylinder head didn't bolt on and off. It was poured into the engine block. So to do valve work on it, you had to remove the pistons out of the engine to put valves in it. And the benefit of that is they could go with, 50, 60, 70 pounds of boost on those engines, create a lot of horsepower without having to worry about blowing head gaskets on them. So that was the benefit of the earlier Offenhauser engines. And now, instead of doing wet liners and dry liners, they do a lot of aluminum blocks, and then they go in with a plasma sprayer, and it'll spray the cylinder walls in there in a liquid iron, and then they'll go in and bore it out. So the complexities of engine blocks has been advancing. And I believe that Koenigsegg, who they build these ultra supercars, they are actually doing 3D castings, kind of like computer-generated 3D moldings that you can see these little 3D printers doing. They're actually doing some of their engine work with basically 3D printing, but it's applying liquid metal to do it because how complicated the internals of the engine are, and they want to make sure they build enough strength to create 2,000 horsepower out of a 3-liter, 4-liter engine. That's so they have to make sure
it's ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be the LS engine.
Well, the LS engine isn't. The LS engine is still sand casted, but
it's aluminum.
Well, some of them are aluminum. The LS engines in the cars are aluminum. The LS engines in the trucks are still cast iron with aluminum heads on them. And the reason for that is they wanted that cast iron block because it's stronger than the aluminum block. Yep. Most of the LS or all the LS engines are still sand casted. One of the important things you have to do in a sand casted engine is clean it correctly. There's I always have an Oldsmobile angle to this. There's a story at Oldsmobile that Oldsmobile was providing the New Jersey Police Department with pursuit cars back in the 70s, the Delta 88. And what they were finding was these high-speed pursuit cars would lose the thermostat housing on them. And all of a sudden, it'd spew all the coolant out. Well, what was going on was there was still some residual sand casting in there.
Stuck in there.
And no, it wasn't getting stuck in there. It was literally sandblasting a hole from the inside of the thermostat housing. So then they went
to pressure.
Yeah. So, lots of complexities about engine blocks, but the technology is vastly advancing.
I want to get this one story in before we have to go. DeLorean Motor Company has hired Austin, Texas agency Bakery as its creative and media agency of record. The appointment marks the first time the automaker has worked with a lead agency since '95. DeLorean, which became a cultural icon thanks to Back to the Future, hadn't produced a car in 40 years until it announced its upcoming Alpha 5 model. The company was looking for an agency that could help tap into the culture. In the 90s, Mr. Wynn acquired the intellectual inventory and property rights and trademarks from the company founded by the notorious John DeLorean in 75. Need for an agency came as the automaker set up to launch the Alpha 5. Be looking for that. Back after this. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Well, that's a wrap for this week's In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. When you're online, follow our Facebook page, give us a like, tell your friends about us, and share our junk if you would, please. Yeah. We're depending on you to help us get the word out. Isn't that what car people do?
Yep.
We keep you posted on all things automotive all week long, including car reviews, upcoming events, cruise-ins, racing events, and other informative and entertaining car and truck goodies. You can find the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show 24/7 on the iHeart Radio app and our live video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and on InWheelTime.com every Saturday, 8 to 11 o'clock Central Time. Daily 30-minute podcasts are up on your podcast channel that you use all the time. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is David Ainsley. Our marketing advertising advisor and video technical director is always We Need More Jeff Zekin. For a booking agent and podcast popper, Mike Mars, and Mr. Know-It-All, his royalty, King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Please join us for our next live In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, Saturday, June 24th on all of these In Wheel Time Car Talk outlets, right here on the Smoke and Mirrors Network, 8 to 11 o'clock Central Time next Saturday. Have a great weekend, stay cool, and so long for now. That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.